Hello, this is Kevin with Banggood Inc. And in this video, we're going to take a look at adding subtotals and sorting to a report. As we're looking at this report here, by default, depending on what my first column is, it will try to sort by those different columns and so forth. May not be necessarily what I want. Maybe I want them in descending order or something else of that nature. So we can kind of control those sorts. Maybe I want to see the most expensive invoice at the top of the list or something of that nature. So, whatever content we're showing here are things that you could pretty much sort on in your reports, and you could sort on multiple columns also. We're also going to take a look at dropping in some subtotals. So as I look at this report at the moment, I could see a job, I could see all these vendors, I can see all these invoices, and I don't really see a grand total for what's the dollar amount associated with this particular job, or what's the total amount of this vendor has multiple invoices and so forth. What's the total of those without having to, add it up in my mind and so forth. So this is the same report that we've been working on with the prior sessions. We're going to go back into a right click on this column heading, and this is where you can kind of control sorting then. So if I said sort ascending here, now it completely changed the perspective of this report a little bit, because now it's sorting first by A1 Electric and Alpha Insulation and the different jobs that are associated with this, versus if I right-hand click over on my job and say sort ascending, that'll go back to what I had previously where it sorts first by this, and then I could sort by, something else. Now, when you first click on here and you say sort ascending, that one basically wipes out any other sorts and says that's going to be the primary first sort. If I'm adding a sort, I need to use these add ascending or descending sorts to the mix. So in my case, I want to say, okay, here's my job, and maybe I want, let's say invoice amount to be another sort descending. So now when I look at this report, I'll see this job. Here's all my vendors. Vendors are showing up multiple times because I'm sorting by the dollar amounts. And there's my most expensive invoice associated with this job, down to the least price one was a $500 invoice as I'm going through. So that's how I can control how different things sort. And when I kind of hover over them, you'll kind of see that there's some up-down arrows here that also kind of lets you go back and see that, that's got a blue arrow for its sorting. If I look at this one, it's got a down arrow for a descending sort. So that's how I can kind of tell also, what's being sorted. This is also where I could go back through and say, clear all sorts, and it would take all the sorts off. So if you get something on there that you decide that you don't want, that's how you can make it go away. But that's how you get better control on, what this information sorts. So by default, as you put things kind of left to right, it's going to kind of sort by, whatever's the first column by the second column, so on and so forth. But that way, if you want to kind of control it better, you can right-hand click on that column and control it through that sorting screen. Let's take a look at some subtotals. I want to see a subtotal for this job. So subtotals are controlled through that right click also. So I'm going to come down here to show subtotals. And right now there's a none and an after value. So that's where I can say after values. And that's going to go back through and say, okay, there's my job. There's all my invoices. And there's my total for that particular job. So it basically shows kind of a bold line with my job number and description, just kind of like what it showed there. And pretty much my totals across the whatever the different amounts are going across on the report. And if I came back to vendor, I could do the same thing. So I could go ahead and say, okay, well, I want to add another subtotal to this. And I could say after values. And now what it would do is A1 Electric only had one, A1 Electric, Alpha only had one, Beta or Barth Electric has two. So then there's my total for the two, that type of thing. So in this case, since I don't have many invoices, I think this one kind of gets overwhelming with all the extra lines. So in this case here, I'm going to go back into there, say subtotals none, and that way I can also take subtotals off. So that way I've still got my job one on there, which I think makes sense, but maybe the vendor just shows too many subtotals since I don't have many invoices, at least in my data, of multiple invoices per vendor very much. That's also where I could go into right click and show a row level for my grand totals. So this still looks all the same. When I get down to the bottom of my report, you'll see a grand total line, and it'll drop a subtotal in for the grand total of this report. So that's how you can get totals on your reports. So those are pretty easy. They're just with a right click. And it's also kind of nice that you can basically just say none and turn them off or turn them on. Pretty easy with just the control of the subtotal and the grand total lines there. And that concludes this session. Thanks for watching.